Oh, thank you very much for joining us today for this edition of the GoTo Biz Pros Resources, our Facebook Live series. We're so excited to have with us today Casey Biz Solutions. We're going to talk about finance. As we said in our event invitation, you know, do you ever feel like a fish out of water when you're looking at your finances? You're sitting there and you're looking at this stack of receipts as a small entrepreneur, and you're kind of wondering what's going on. First, I want to thank the audience again for joining us. And just to remind you, this is a series that the Ennovation Center has been doing for GoTo Biz Pros all across the Kansas City area. And that includes business resources, our professionals like Barrett with me today, and then also our peers, which are some of our Ennovation Center clients, so that businesses that are watching us can learn from their peers as they're growing. So just want to invite you, if you have any questions, you can certainly post those in the comment page. Those will come to us live. If not afterwards, we'll make sure that you have a link that you can connect with you right away with Casey Biz Solutions. And we also want to thank Works Lab, our co-working space at the Ennovation Center, for allowing us to come in when there was a little bit of a gap in the schedule. So thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Oh,
my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. So I just finished, along with this, my husband's a small business owner.
Yep.
We finished our taxes on Saturday.
Oh, I know.
Whee!
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we can celebrate.
Yep.
But there's a whole year's worth of work that goes into that before then. And as a small business, really, three things I'd love to talk to you about today and to learn from you is, you know, of course, best practices in keeping track of your finances. But, you know, one of the first questions we always get as we have clients that are coming in or people are just starting up, it's number one, what accounting system should I use just to keep track? Number two is, what's the difference between business expense and a personal expense, especially if you're a sole proprietor or you're just starting up and it's just you running the stuff.
Right.
If I'm doing something around town and I go to McDonald's and grab a drive-through, is that a business expense, really?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yes and no,
so,
right?
Yeah. So those are some of the things. Those are some of the questions we get. I'm sure those are some you get.
Absolutely. I mean, going back to the first thing you said, this is a year's long worth of work, right, to file taxes.
Right.
It should not be, let's wait until April 1st with a shoebox of receipts and a couple of bank statements to start digging through stuff. And so that's how I had positioned myself as that CFO, to sit down and work with these people to get them organized throughout the entire year, right? It's a year-long process. You're working on your business all year long in terms of sales and expenses, inventory management, all these different things. Take track of those finances throughout the year as well. Right?
Well, that's a good point. Even if you're a small business, and especially if you're a business that your business plan is ready to scale,
right.
You feel a great position within the company, because you can come in and be that acting CFO, whether it's for a little bit of consultation or through their processes,
or through a whole lot of it, right?
Yeah.
But typically, when I work with clients, there's an onboarding process, because like you said, they've waited a year, and it's, hey, listen, I've got all these statements and all these receipts, and what do I do with them now? And
here's
so
my manila envelope.
Right, here's my manila envelope, right, exactly. So you kind of dig through there, but once you have them all set up, and it's kind of smooth sailing from that point, where it's just account management, and you can work with them on an ongoing basis, to where you know at any given time they can peek in there, look at their financials, and get an accurate view of what's really happening. And so it's really valuable.
So what's one of the first mistakes that you see, other than handing you the big box of,
the first thing I would say to anybody is go.
I've been there and done that
exactly.
all of them. Yeah.
Go and set up a separate checking, savings, credit card account, right?
Okay.
It's the commingling of expenses for personal and business. I mean, you get your first sale, you're not really usually prepared, right? It's like you got $97.36. Well, I was just going to go in my personal account, but eventually you're going to have to track that back to the business. So if you can set up a separate checking account, a separate savings account, a separate credit card, and only run business expenses through there, and only personal expenses back through your other accounts, it's a huge first step.
And there's so much of that is electronic now. Absolutely. So for example, on my business card, I was able to just do the account summary.
Right.
I already have it cataloged in there, and then that fed into my accounting system.
Exactly.
It still took me like hours and hours, but
right. Again, we're not waiting all year, right? We're doing this on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, and do it throughout the year. But you're right, the electronic integration between QuickBooks Online and Xero, and then each of the bank accounts from checking, savings, and credit card, you could PayPal even, you can transact all those items back into the software and easily organize them. So it's staying on top of it, but again, separating it business versus personal.
Does it matter at that point whether you're sole proprietor or whether you've elected to be organized like an LLC or an Inc. or
No.
anything?
I mean, at the end of the
still
day,
need to just separate
yeah,
it
at the
out.
end of the day, just separate them out so that we know that we're not going to go back through and, again, needle in a haystack type of thing where, oh no, that was personal, oh wait, that was business. And then you start thinking, well, back in April of 2015, what was that expense for?
Yeah, sure.
It's
So
all there.
getting ready there. So
This is step one, business versus personal.
okay, step one.
Yeah,
huh?
step one.
So what's a good example of a business expense versus a personal expense when you're? So I've got a cell phone.
Right. Cell phone, that's a utility. That's a utility for you to do business. If you're calling people every day to talk to customers, to make orders, to run your business, that's a business expense. Now, there are certain qualifications in terms of percentage of those utilities that you can write off, right? And I always say at the end of the year, we'll hand that over to the professionals and let the CPA designate exactly what's going on there. But I just want to help you get organized right now. Meals and entertainment, for instance,
Yeah, that's
right?
the drive-through.
Drive-through. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going to go out to McDonald's. Could you do that occasionally? Yeah, but you don't want to start running through. They're going to Price Chopper, going to get groceries, going to get home supplies. If they're office supplies or they're very specific to the business to help you operate, to help you grow, then absolutely. But
If I'm, for example, if I'm a construction crew or a crew chief, or I've got my own construction company, and we're on the way to a job, and I've got my guys with me, my people with me, pardon me, and we do that. We go through a drive-through.
Right.
That's a
traveling. You're right.
business expense.
That's a business expense, but probably picking up a 12-pack at the end of the day.
Not
The best. Yeah, not the best use of company funds.
Okay, that's probably a good example for it right
sure.
there. I haven't heard of any drive-throughs for that. But that's okay.
Not yet, right?
Don't question us on that one. That's not one for a question. So, so what are some of the other examples of real common commingling or something that is a line that you kind of look at? Home office, I guess, would be one.
Home office
right?
is always one of those things, right? Yeah, I operate out of my home, and so going through my taxes this year and everything, you measure out your home. It's based on a percentage of the square footage of your entire home, and so you can actually absolutely take that as a deduction. It's just you start getting into, well, my office is right down here, but if I kick in this other room over here my dining room that maybe I do some business in sometimes, and then I expand my footprint. Now you're again. There's always a line. How far do you want to step over that line? And I want to be aggressive at the same time.
You got to be conservative.
You got to be conservative, exactly.
Yeah,
got to follow the rules.
Yeah, that's
the rules
right.
can be bent, but let's follow the rules.
That's right. So you mentioned QuickBooks. That's an easy one to translate in. I think everybody knows about. There's Wave, there's Quicken, there's QuickBooks. So those are some that are good tools to use. To set up as a small business. So are those kind of the best practices for tracking expenses then?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about very basic, let's set up a separate bank account. Another very basic step, let's start running everything in Excel, right? The next very basic step, though, still is let's get a QuickBooks Online account or a Xero account. Those are primarily the two platforms that I really enjoy using, Xero, XERO. QuickBooks Online, people think QuickBooks, they think this old desktop version, right? This awful. And I've still had some clients that I've converted that, they remote into a cloud or a remote session, and then they log in. They're in the cloud, right? Yeah, QuickBooks Online is a browser-based software. So is Xero. You can get onto it anywhere in the world. I've got an application on my phone. I can pull up client information at any time. Invoice clients, receive payments. It's an extremely, extremely robust tool nowadays. There used to be a time where, the desktop was far superior because it was still, the online version was still being developed, right? But nowadays, I think they're very, very similar in terms of what they offer. And, the online version just, again, provides that ease of use that you can't really find anywhere else.
So if I'm a new business starting up and I've got my my best practice, I've got my basics set up, and I've sat down with you to do that, but in my estimation, my business should grow. I've got a product or a service that's going to grow. I'm gonna hire people. I'm going to grow that business, and that business is scalable. So I'm going to continue to grow that business. It's not just the sole proprietor. It's not just the mom and pop.
Right.
But I'm setting up those practices. How important is it to have that early stage, at an early stage in the game, to be able to number one, identify that, so you've got a history, so you're growing.
Right.
And then number two, to have it as a record in case you bring other people in.
Right. I mean, it gives you a benchmark, right? It gives you a footprint. It gives you the ability to go back and look and track those changes. How fastly do I want to be growing versus how fastly am I really growing?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you look back and say, oh, well, my checking account's positive, and so I've got money in the bank and I'm making money, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah.
You need to go back, be able to go back, look at that information, and make decisions off what's happening, not just what you anticipate to happen. You can forecast and guidance all day long, but unless you're actually looking back at what is really happening and trying to make those measurements from that data, I mean, you're kind of a shot in the dark. So.
And Measure is a pretty good. That's a good example of how you can use the tools.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk about the robust reporting and the tools and the ability to do some of those projections within the program as well. I mean,
oh, okay, so it's not.
I mean, I always love kicking stuff over in Excel.
It's not another shoebox.
Right, not another shoebox. Exactly. I'm a huge Excel fan, and I love kicking stuff over in there to really do some, intricate projections and forecasts. But QuickBooks, again, has the ability, so does Xero, to do some of those very basic things for you.
Okay.
And if the information's there, then you're not having to recreate the wheel.
Right. So does your season end with the tax day, or does your season begin with tax day?
My season is all year long, which is kind of
you don't take care of that.
Right, exactly. And again,
right,
I don't do income taxes. There are a lot of professionals out there that I kick that over to. It's my job to work through the clients throughout the year, all year long, to make sure that they're up to date and organized. So I don't have an up or down time. It's always go. It's always go.
It's always go. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And to our audience, we hope that you benefited as much as we did from the conversation. Again, it's about planning and process.
Yes.
Through this process, we've talked to folks about scaling their business, where to find resources here, how they've defined their marketplace, how they've approached production and making sure as they scale its quality. But this is all about that back office piece. This is about making sure that you've got the paperwork. I've worked with hundreds of companies that have been at a point that they've borrow money, or whether you're going after money, a partner to increase your capacity, or whether you need additional capital. If you don't have this step in place,
they're going to look for that from banks to investors. They're going to say, give me a P&L and a balance sheet. We want to look at it for the last several years you've been in business, or last several quarters, depending on how new you are. They're going to want to see that information.
So whether you're starting up and getting your process right, or whether you're scaling up and you've been in business and you have to grow, making sure your processes are in place. Or I'm hearing you.
Yes.
I'm feeling it because we got nothing to do. I'm hearing you now. Just making sure we have that done. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Thank you to the audience so much for being with us. Next week we have on. I believe it's it's April 25th. I won't say if that's Tuesday or Wednesday because I can't think about it right now. April 25th at 3 o'clock, we have IntelliThink. And that's with Pat. He's going to really talk to us about innovative thinking. It's really awesome. We're looking forward to it. So please join us then. Thank you for being with us today. And thanks again.
Thank you.
And we look forward to talking to you next time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.